So now when you go in there, right? First of all, they're associating you by anywhere by saying you're sovereign. So they're trying to say you pledge allegiance to such and such. You know, instead of saying instead of recognizing them as a living spirit or a human, you know, they say, oh, you're sovereign, so you pledge allegiance to this. You pledge allegiance to David Koresh. You pledge allegiance to whoever else, Timothy McVeigh, or whoever else the case may be, rather than just treating you as a living spirit.
Well, I agree, and a lot of times we come into these things where we come in with a combative, sort of like defensive posture right off the bat. And I'm speaking outside of this case because this is not the first thing I've read, nor the overall type of behaviors and irresponsibleness that I've seen. I'm just really venting. I'm not vilifying anything. I'm just saying the bottom line is that we have to take on a high level of responsibility and conduct when we enter this process, because it reflects on everybody else who are really trying to fight this good fight.
You right, but like I said, it sound like this guy has some problems. But the bottom line is, the reason we went through this process is because they want free slave labor. They want us to, they wanted us to treat us like, like how can I say, below substandard human beings, and they never wanted to change that. But according to their constitution that they wrote, we are living spirits, or we don't apply to those abnormality laws, which what they are doing now is applying that in court, and the maritime law, and they just want to keep people of color at a certain standard that they've been had for the last 50 years, because in all equality they wouldn't be able to survive.
Peace, brother. This is Chief Standing Gale. I like the dialogue you two are having. What's your name, brother, with the COMPL?
Kareem.
Oh, brother Kareem. What? Kareem from Illinois?
No. I'm from New York.
Okay, another Kareem. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, brother. You make a lot of sense, and I think you both make a lot of sense because you both are right. On one end, because some of these people are off mentally, they're still using the methods and stuff and things that were put together for us that were supposed to be meant for freedom. And because they're using it and they're abusing it more and more, there's more than a few. It is making it bad for everyone who goes in there. I mean, what we teach the TAMAZIGHT is don't even only go into their courts if you absolutely must, because they're not going to treat you right if you bring those things up. And also we teach to bring up the spiritual side of things first, rather than paperwork or this nation, that nation that has to be proven up. They know who God is. They got it on their walls and on their money. So they know who God is at least. Somebody's background is real bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, right? Like for me, for instance, I have a couple of upcoming court dates for traffic tickets, right? Being that all I'm stating is that I have the right to travel. It wasn't a commercial vehicle and stuff like that. I put in an affidavit of truth rights and truth for claim of rights. But the thing is, they still want to see you in court. So it's hard for you not to show up.
I understand that, and I wasn't arguing that level, because if you don't show up, they will provide a warrant and try to get a default judgment.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm saying try to avoid it when you must, as far as when you're in control of it. But if you're not in control, then of course, you cannot avoid it. You have to show up, or they're going to put those things against you and start taking things because they put in their own default. But I'm just saying, when you do show up, you have more power showing up under God than any of these organizations.
I see what you're saying. What you're saying is, you got to move carefully. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
Pretty much. I mean, move with things that they know you know, things you can prove that they know. For instance, there's a separation of church and state by the Constitution. If you say you're Washington or from Arna or anything else, you got to prove that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you do prove it, they're going to attack you for it if it's something that they're attacking. However, if you say you're something religious, they got in God we trust on the wall in the court. They got in God we trust on coins and all the money. That's an easier argument, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So let me show you on this. Let me show you all on what I have on the screen right now. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you how easy of an argument it is, and it's what I've won with a lot of cases with.
Peace, Chief. There's some.
Please go ahead.
Yes, that's some very bad audio.
Yeah, I don't know whose that is. Let me see who that is. It might be brother brother Kareem.
Yeah, I just muted.
Yeah, that's your phone. No, that's my speaker. No, brother Kareem, I just shut you off on mute, and that background noise is gone. So something's wrong with your speaker.
Peace.
Peace. Is brother Kareem, you back?
No, this is not. Okay, so good, because I left the meeting and came back to see if it was me. So yes,
it was the brother Kareem that was speaking.
Yes, okay.
No, I had it on mute.
I just muted you, and it actually cleared up. So, brother Kareem, I can unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. There's something wrong with the reception. I'll make sure. I'll show you. See, I just unmuted you now, brother Kareem, and you can hear that background again. I'm gonna mute you now. It's gonna disappear in 1 second. Watch. So now it's muted. That's brother Kareem's background. Brother Kareem, can you somehow get back in? Because I would love to hear you speak. I mean, you're making a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm here.
See, you got a background noise right there. So we can't hear because of some kind of reception.
All right, hold on a second. Let me see.
If you are recording on your computer, that would be why. Or if you got a phone on your computer that is recording, the reception is made. There's a program on here made to block that. So that kind of noise I usually hear when somebody's recording.
I didn't press the record button, so I don't know what the problem is.
Or if it's not that, then it's your microphone. Are you on a computer or are you on a phone?
Well, maybe it is the microphone on my computer.
We just need to do that.
Well, I've just muted until I have something to say, so you can speak clearly to everybody.
We appreciate you. We just want to hear what you were saying. So can everybody see the screen? For those on the computer, can you see the screen right now?
Yes, Chief.
Okay, can you read what that is? Brother, now, since you're on the phone, since you're already speaking, can you read what that is on the computer?
Sure. This is the state of Illinois, Cook County file for record. The state of Illinois, Cook County, Noble Drew Ali, a recognizable book page recorder. Do solemnly swear that at it's hard for me to make out the words there, but
what part are you on? Do solemnly swear
at a what?
I'm trying to do solemnly swear that at a meeting of
members of the Morris Science Temple of America held at Chicago in the county of Cook in the state of Illinois on the 20th day of July, 1928. For that purpose, the following persons were appointed sheiks according to the rules and usages of such Morris Science Temple of America. Noble Drew Ali, and then I can't see beyond that.
Okay, let me push it up. According to the rules and usage of such Morris Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali, Millie Ill, Mile Bay, Lovett Bay, and Foreman Bay, which are leaders of the split that happened later. This is before the split. As you can see, this document is from 1928 in Cook County. All the people I named have been known to be in parts of the split after the prophet, where it split the temple in several different ways. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm showing you this, then we'll get to talking about the money. And I mean the money resources, or the things that help us as a people grow. Let me get this thing off the screen real quick. I hate when that happens. So it
Question about
says,
Muhammad.
wait, hold on 1 second. Let me finish this off. It's almost done. So it says, so we named all of them: Foreman Bay, Emil, Mao Bay. The Moorish scientific of America, deriving its power and authority from the great Quran of Muhammad, to propagate the faith and extend the learning and truth of the great prophet of Ali in America, to anoint, appoint, and consecrate missionaries of the prophet, and to establish those words I can't see because this is a very old document. I have a real copy of it because Cook County is right here where I live at. And said Moorish Science Temple of America adopted this corporate name, the following: Moorish Science Temple of America. So the corporate name is Moorish Science Temple of America. The spiritual name is Moorish Science Temple of America. It is Moorish Temple of America as well. But I just showed this one-page document to show that Prophet Noble Ali registered this with the state of Illinois. So he wasn't against registering things, and he said these are missionaries. It was a religious mission. There was nothing about nationality, none of those things. He mentioned, Noble Ali does mention nationality, yes, but nationality in God, not in paperwork, not in other things. The first thing was said was about nationality in God. So I was just showing this to show you all that even Noble Ali taught about doing things in God. When you go to the court, when you go to anybody, just bring God with you, because that's the most powerful thing you can have. You don't have to prove a nation when you're proving God, because every nation, every landmass belongs to God, because God is the creator. You are a part of the land. You are made out of the land. If any one of you are religion or you're scientific, either way, we can prove that you have protons in you, neutrons in you, electrons in you. We can prove that you have gold in you, silver in you, some diamond dust. Anything that the ground has, you have it in your genetic makeup. So either way it go, the land is of God, made by God. You are made by the land. You are made by God in whatever religious way you want to come. Noble Ali told you to go forward in God. Noble Ali actually went forward in God in 1928 and found it and noticed the government that he was moving in God, and that the people in his movement were missionaries, because missionaries are non-taxable. They're exempt. They're ministers. They're sheiks. The proof is right here. You can get this in Cook County anytime you want, or I can send you a copy. Yes, brother, you had a question.
Yeah, this is sort of like affidavit of truth, or saying like you're a living spirit, correct?
Some people affidavit of truth are different though, depending on who taught you your affidavit of truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like some people just have that, I'll talk to this man upon the planet Earth. I'm not corporate, I'm living. And some people have, I am a God spirit made man. Everybody's is different. One of the things, if you can mute real quick, Brother Kareem, so that background stop. One of the things that's causing us a problem is that there's no uniformity. There are too many rogue people doing rogue things that they shouldn't be doing. That's causing everyone a problem in the courts. Whether we fight for our properties, whether we fight for our families, we all have a problem because of these rogue people. And then not just the rogue people, but the teachers of these different organizations who are just there taking things and taking advantage of the people. It's all a common problem, because we would be stronger if we actually just did what was right, and we just became uniform. If we had a United Nations of the Washington Nation with the Clock Destiny Wars, with the ARNA, with the whoever else's, with the, everybody just had a United Nations representative type of thing. And we're trying this in Chicago right now to get uniformity to fight oppression. It'll be a better fight, and it'll be less for the courts to utilize against people. And especially if you do it under God, because it's something more provable. They already have laws to exempt your property when you work for God. If you was a missionary like these people on this document, you can exempt your property because you are a sheik or a missionary for God. If your sales tax is exempt as well, your life is pretty much exempt when you work for God. And this is what this lesson today is about. When we're talking about credit, what credit is, where credit comes from, what a trust is, what a will is, where it comes from, how could you use those things, What are the secrets that you didn't uncover, or what should you reveal or unveil so that you can see how to use these things to better your life? Because God gave you everything here for you to have a better life. And we made a choice not to follow, some of us choose not to follow what God put here and are struggling to find what the better life is. And then we're putting in this paperwork that have nothing to do with God or what was put here and what we can do, or nothing to do with what Nubar Drew Ali showed us, nothing to do with what Marcus Garvey showed us, nothing to do with what Prince Hall showed us, nothing to do with what Edward Wilmot Blight showed us. It's too much discombobulation and too much intermixing of things with no leadership, no unity, and nothing. And that's why none of these things are working. That's why they're able to make a victim out of most of us, especially if you show up by yourselves. So today I want to discuss with you and show you that you can indeed, what credit is, the credit comes from God. A trust comes from God. Your religious book is God's written will for you already on this earth. And how you can actually go and take these things in your paperwork and take it to a bank, monetize assets, get trade lines, or how you can go and buy trade lines. Some people don't even know the fact that you can buy credit and you can buy trade lines. So today I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about everything. I talk about the TAMAZIGHT Temple University is spoken to under God, because I'm only saying something that God gave you. So before I start, I know you people, I know some of the brothers and sisters have something to say. I don't need it to be a big call. I'm gonna make it a worthwhile call, because Tuesday I'm having a big call anyway. I didn't really send out as many, invites as I usually do. Today, I was just hoping whoever God sends is who God sends. And I'm glad you all are here. So before we start on what is credit, how to use credit and trust and all those things that I know many people want to know about, if y'all have y'all last questions or comments on this document or anything spoken about, we're open for that. Oh, there it is. So any more comments or questions before we go on to talking about the different things? Okay, there's no questions or comments, so I'm going to go right into this. So the reason I brought up what Nubar Drew Ali put into the courts and what he actually registered was to stop everyone from doing things that are separating us and getting us in trouble. Credit, thank you. Credit is created. Let's say everyone on this call has some type of religious thought or some kind of scientific thought. Let's say that God created all of us and gave us the entire earth in trust. Let's say you believe the story of Adam and Eve, or the story before Adam and Eve. I don't know if you study Yaqub. I don't know who you study, but whoever you study, even Kemet, somehow there's a creator that gave you an entire planet, which means you had real estate from the get-go, and the people, and each woman and man who begat a son gave it an inheritance to their heirs or their youth or their posterity. You automatically have these things. So you had a new younger being that is misnomer or called the white man, who became colonial and came of power after a time where the entire planet was God worshiping and God fearing, and the entire planet was run by actually what's called a darker species. They had no power. So somehow they came into power at a later time because we let go of our God, we let go of our names, we accepted their name, we accepted them into the priesthood, we let them domesticate women, we let them tell us that our women shouldn't be equal to us, and we broke our covenants at some point. But that never means just because our covenants are broken that you come and take our property or tell us that we don't have property. We don't have the gold that you mine and the diamonds that you mine is not from our land. So you have those things in trust. So they got the idea of everything they did, trust, bankruptcy, every idea they've had is not new. They didn't create it. The Bible and Quran, we talked about it last week, that the Bible, Quran, the Bible and the Torah speaks about bankruptcy and clearing up your debt every 7 years. And now you have a chapter 7 bankruptcy. They didn't make anything new under the sun. That was already here. So you should understand bankruptcy because you actually spoke about it for those people who knew the Lord's Prayer when we all were practicing Christianity. So they have a whole business set up on religion, and they gave you a sign by putting "In God We Trust" and laughing on the money. And in their courtrooms, for those who have courtrooms, they have it on their wall. Illinois courts do have "In God We Trust" on the federal court walls as well as the state court wall. So they make you understand where the trust comes from and that it has a lot to do with God. But you abandon your own trust. It wasn't because of the birth certificate that you abandoned your trust. It's partially got to do with the birth certificate. It was because your parents didn't know they supposed to didn't know how to take their inheritance of the land that God gave them, or the inheritance that their parents left for them to give to you. And so they made the state the trustee over your accounts. The state took the place of God. Your original trustee, if you're a Christian, is Jesus Christ. And if Jesus cannot be material, if you're a Christian, then your next trustee is the church you believe in. That's your trustee because they're supposed to be holding the will of God, which y'all call God's word. If you're a Muslim, the Prophet Muhammad was your trustee. But if Prophet Muhammad is not here, the will and testament of God for you is the Quran. So that's the trust for you. And so if Prophet Muhammad not here, Imam such and such is standing in Prophet Muhammad's stead. And mosque such and such is standing in Prophet Muhammad's stead. The same thing works for Kemet. If you're in Asar Asset Society, the laws of Mayat would equate, or whatever structure you have together would equate your trustee. So your love of God and whatever way you deal with God is actually the way you should be dealing with business. Because there's already a separation of the church and state. And when they say church, they mean every religion. They're not just saying Christianity. Even if you're Hebrew, it's the same. So you were given this trust. You were given this land. You were given everything on it in trust by a will. Today, the way it works is your will. You're supposed to have a will, like a Bible, Quran, something you put in writing to say what happens to the things that are going down from the spirit. Then you're supposed to have a trust. You create a trust, whether it's a pure trust, whether it's a complex trust, whatever name you want to put on it, it's still the same thing. I know there's different ways that the government looks at it, but it can be made the same. You can make an ecclesiastical trust and put your property in it and guard it with the spirit and your ancestors, because each religious work you have protects your property, actually. I can show you I think most of y'all were on the call last week. I can show you where it says these things in your religious books. That you have inherited property, that you are to send inheritance to your future children, things of that nature. I can show it to you if you haven't seen it or if you request it. So this is what Noble Drew Ali understood, and big people and Prince Hall understood, and people before them. And this is what you need to understand. So credit is thought. What you see as credit, when you're dealing with credit cards, you never see the real materialistic resources behind it. You're dealing with a $5,000 credit card. You never see the diamonds or the nickel or the copper or whatever's backing it, or gold. You only see the thought money. It's thought money. It's because you agree. That's the same thing as God gave. God gave you full faith and credit. You have faith in your God. That's the same as full faith and credit. Faith is credit. It's faith. You give somebody a card, they have the faith that you're going to pay them back, that you have the honor to pay it back. God had faith in man when every angel said, why are you creating something that's going to cause destruction? God had faith, gave you full faith and credit. Credit is thought money. You have all these movies and all these books like The Secret that tells you that you can project into reality your sustenance, and materialize your resources that you need. A lot of us make a mistake of praying for money instead of praying for resources. Because the money we got, everybody says they're not even worth nothing. So why don't we pray for resources? So I want to take a pause for a minute to see if you all are following me, if you understand where I'm coming from. Or if you have any questions so far. Any questions so far on what's been said? Peace, you have a question?
Peace, brother Now from Philadelphia.
Peace, brother Now.
Yeah, I feel exactly where you're coming from, and I'm just fighting to align with that as best I can, so that I can help others, help myself, and in that capacity and align with that. So I'm definitely standing with you on that.
Okay, thank you very much, brother Now. So I'm gonna show you how to use it today, and thank you all for being on the call, and I thank your ancestors. First of all, let me thank the Creator for us all being here. Let me thank your ancestors for you all being here. Let me thank the forces in nature that help us sustain our lives. I'm gonna keep it short and do it that way because I gotta bring God into whatever. By whatever name you call God is who I'm thanking, and who you should be thanking that we're even here to have this call. Because of course we know a lot of people are not here on this plane anymore to do this work. And so we invoke and always bring the Creator into it, and bring the forces of the Creator into it, and bring our ancestors into it, and our elders that are doing the work. Then we have a better chance than not. So I was just gonna open up with that short, short meditation and short recognition of the God and the Creator. So this is how this works. Does everybody on the call know that you can buy trade lines for your credit? Because I just showed you God gave you credit. Credit is thought money. Credit is an agreement of thoughts. If I agree that this plastic card represents that you're going to pay me back and you going through this process, then that's what makes it work. If you and I agree that a cowrie shell is money and we trade with it, using it, then it is money. If you and I agree that eagle feathers are money, then it is money. Back in the day, every state of the Union, almost every state had its own money before the Civil War happened. Because they agreed that this is the currency you use in this state of mind, or this state called Vermont or Illinois or New York. They agreed on this. So money is what you agree the value of a resource is. Because you can value something I have no value on. Some of you all watch movies I never watch. I put no value to it. But when we both agree on the value of it, oh, it's valuable. When it's time for shopping and two of the sisters see some great pair of shoes and they both agree on the value, the store owner gonna know they increase the value because it's gonna be like, okay, this is hot. Because their mind and their thought just made me understand the supply and demand, that demand is higher than I thought. So I'm a limit the supply and up it the price and see who values it most. So your mind leads the value. Your mind causes the credit. Your mind in agreement with other minds. And these commercial entities understand that. So now I'm gonna make you understand this. You can buy credit. Does everybody agree or disagree with that? That you can actually buy trade lines of credit?
Agree.
You said so, but I never, this is the first time I ever heard about it, so I'm new to this.
Who is that said they're new to this?
Brother Kareem.
Let me show you something. Let me go to, where did I put that picture? Right here. Let me share the screen for you.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it in my email account, but like I said,
email, so I want to explain to you all that got the email what it was that I emailed you. This is the website. This is one of the sites where us brokers go to sell credit, trade lines to people. So this is the way it works. I want you to know first in your mind it works in God. That you agree that God gave you full faith and credit, and everything here is for you to utilize. If you believe in the books like Genesis or Surah al-Baqarah, Surah Tanaz, Surah Anisa, if you believe in Leviticus, in the Torah or the Tanakh, the book of Numbers, Songs of Solomon, any of those type of books. Credit is first given by God. When you accept everything God gives you, you have God's blessings to move forward in these things. It's meditation, it's thought, and it's concentration on God. But now we're talking about how they commercialize God's resources. Because what they've done is commercialize resources that belongs to everybody who's living, but mainly the eldest people on the earth, which is us. They've commercialized it. It's just a simple and plain thing. So here you're looking at on the screen, for those who can see the screen, you'll see 2017, the statement date 3/3/2017, a revolving Barclays account for $40,000 from 2014. You see a Barclays account, $7,500 from 2016. Over on the right where it says date opens, when it says slats, that means how many they have left. Because what us brokers do, we go in and we buy this credit from people who have money and good credit. So let me give you the understanding. If you have a credit card today, is there a limit on who you can authorize to use your credit card, or who you can make an authorized user? Is there a limit? Anyone who can answer? Who has credit cards on the call? Anyone on the call have credit cards?
I have credit cards. Sister
Okay,
Aisha.
sister, can you have an authorized user on your credit card?
Yes.
Do they have to be your family member?
No.
So who can you authorize to use your credit card if you wanted to?
Anybody I want to.
Anybody you want to. Now, does everybody on the call know that you can call your credit card company and ask them just how many authorized users you can have? Some credit cards give you 100 authorized users. Some credit cards give you 200, and some actually give you 300 if you have a business credit account. Did you all know that?
I was unaware.
I do now.
Okay, now you know that you yourself can actually sell your own credit if you want it. Because you can put any authorized user. They don't have to be your family member. They just have to be over the age of 18. I mean, you can put a child on there if you want, though. Don't get me wrong. But they should be over the age of 18 because now they're responsible, suable, and can sign contracts and can consent to contracts legally. So imagine yourself being a rich person with all this good credit and all these trade lines against all the assets that you own, and you want to go to sleep and make money off of the money you have or the credit you have. You could just authorize sell the use of your credit to an authorized user. As long as you are a person that's taking care of your credit, paying it on time, and not using more than 20% of your card, you can sell any part of your card to anybody. So you have a group of people that you're seeing on what you see on the screen is a group of people who will just have money and good credit, who instead of just sitting on the credit, make more money off of their own credit. So I wanted to make sure that I can make you understand that you can do these things. That's what this call is about. But these things are because of God. Every corporation has only monetized the things that God has already given you. The thing is, they monetized it before you did. And you can reclaim it. So if you look in your state and you look at the Transfers to Minors Act, it tells you that when a person becomes to the age of majority, and not minority, minority is from 18 and under. When you become the age of majority, you can act, which is 18 in America, you can actually accept a trust made for you or an estate made for you, but you have to come forward and accept it and take it over. So this is what the redemption people and all these other people getting the whole collapse the birth certificate stuff from and all of that. It's not the birth certificate per se. It's the energy and the labor that is promised that you will put out as a member of a state or as a citizen. It's the energy that's being monetized. The energy was created by God, was given by God. It is a part of God. Science says the energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Religion says God had not been created and cannot be destroyed. It's the same. So they're making money off of your thought, your energy, and off of your acquiescence or your weakness to stand up, or your ignorance of not knowing that you can. But today, no one's going to leave this call ignorant of the fact that you can buy credit, you can sell credit. And that credit and money belongs to God and your ancestors. They're monetizing water. They're monetizing air. They're monetizing earth, the gold, the silver. This stuff is already here for you. That's not funny to y'all? That they have monetized stuff that is here, created by God for you to sustain your lives? Real estate. They're selling you homes on property to where they came over here, just made claims of property that other people was just sharing under God and said, well, we're going to claim it privately. We're gonna claim this property privately. It's gonna be we colonial people from Europe. We're gonna claim this land in America. We're gonna call this New York, after York in England. This is New York, not old York in England. This is New York. We claim this. This is my house. Damn you native who was here, who believe that this is a shared earth and everything was made by God for all people in the area. They said, forget all that. We're privatizing this. And then somebody like J.P. Morgan came and said, well, you need insurance for that, so let me go ahead and insure you for that, and let me put that, hold it for you while you're going off to the west to get more of this property. Let me hold this for you and insure it, start the first holding company or corporation, and you just pay me a percentage. Oh, well, you got killed by the natives when you went over west. I'm keeping this. Oh, now J.P. Morgan Bank. By the way, these slaves you got here too, let me go ahead and insure them too. Something that could not be monetized. Somebody was smart enough to say, we about to monetize this. And they agreed. So two thoughts made an agreement, which made a contract. Some people didn't come back and claim their things. Some people step up and say, I'm not a slave. And this man, J.P. Morgan, got rich, partnered with Chase. Now you have the biggest bank around here, Chase Bank. And Chase Bank is actually Visa. So if your credit card says Visa, guess who that is? J.P. Morgan and Chase. MasterCard, that is Bank of America. So here you have it. Credit is run by two banks, but the resources are from all around the world. And they belong to God, and they were willed over to you in trust. But you haven't stepped up. But you don't have to step up that way. You can step up and say, now I know what credit is. Now I know how to use credit. Now I know how to agree on thought. Now I know how to sell credit, and now I know how to buy credit. So what you do is go to someone that you trust that is selling credit. You can go to a family member that's very responsible and ask that family member to put you on the card, and they will build your credit. As long as they have not spent over 20% of all the credit they have, that's called credit usage. If that's too high, then your credit is going to be low. So if you have 5 credit cards that add all together up to $20,000, well, $30,000. Now I'll say 20. You only should spend 20% to keep your credit rating high, because you know credit scores you're looking from to be, and I'll show you all this later: good, fair, poor, excellent, or fair, good, poor, fair, good, excellent. One is from 500 to this. One is from 618 to that. One is from 720 to whatever. You get the picture. But it's all based on the natural resources that God gave you. All of it. But it's thought money. America never had money. America started out in debt. It's a new colonial country. They don't have all this money. They don't own land, really. They stealing land from some other people. Some people had money. They borrowed money or opened up credit trade lines from France and Spain to finance the Revolutionary War. So the war was fought with credit. Then they started making war bonds to pay for more things. Now you got bonds. So let's get back to credit though. I just want you to understand trade lines. It used to be laissez-faire trade and different type of things. They named trade, merchant accounts, merchant trading, and things of that nature. That actually the Quran has more word on, and the Arabs did more trading than anybody. And the Quran is a religious book, and a religious will has the power over that. But let's start with just credit. So you can buy credit. This is what you're looking on the screen is credit that's for sale every day, every month, in and out. And this goes out into a warehouse where us brokers come out, like TAMAZIGHT Temple University is a broker. We go and buy this stuff for people who say, I need good credit. We put it on their credit for a couple months or for life, depending on how much they pay. And we look into their credit and say, this will help your limit go up, because it depends on what's happening to you. Your credit is low because of this, that, or the other. We can either raise your debt to income ratio by raising your income. We can raise your credit by you buying these trade lines. So if a person has had credit since 2000, it's 2017 right now, and their credit has always been good, and they make you an authorized user, guess what's going to go on your credit report? Their good credit from 2000. And if the limit is $50,000 from the year 2000, it goes on your credit if you become an authorized user. Questions, comments, concerns on credit? Let me know you're understanding me, everybody on the call. Just let me know you're understanding me and let me know you're following me. I'm going to bring up God because everything is due to God. Following this credit thing.
Yeah, I understand it, but I'm still trying to get around of me buying it from somebody.
I mean, the sister just told you she got credit cards. If you got credit cards, you can make anybody authorized user. If you don't want to go to a person, no, you can go to a company. TAMAZIGHT Temple University sells this. You can go to us. We can put it on your credit report. It's that simple. People can sell credit because they can have hundreds of people on each credit card. That's
So
when you got big credit cards.
So you mean to tell me it's a marketplace for this?
Yes, I'm telling you this. That's why I got this. I'm in the marketplace. The only people that can get these are people in the marketplace.
So I contact the marketplace and I tell them, listen, I'm looking to buy authorized lines of credit.
What we would do, what should happen to you when you're buying credit. Let me show you how to buy credit. So part of this call for me to show you how to buy credit. First thing should be done, if somebody tells you they're going to sell you credit without looking at your credit as to where it is right now, that's the same as you going for health issues and you telling and somebody telling you, well, I'm just going to give you this medicine and hope it's going to heal you. That's not what you want, right? You want somebody who's going to look at you, who has a knowledge of what's happening with you, who has diagnosed and looked at every little part they can look at to tell you, okay, this is what's wrong. So when you're buying credit, the person selling you credit should, if they're going to fix your credit for you, they should be able to say, well, let me see your credit report. They should look at it and say, okay, you're at a 655. You want to be at a 720 to start getting good offers. What can we do to get you to a 720 from a 655? Let's look at your credit usage. You're using 50% of all the credit you have, which is taking your credit down. So if we increase the amount of credit you have versus the income you report, and you buy one of these credit lines and we increase the amount of credit you have to $40,000 more, that takes the 50% you've been using down to probably 30 to 20%. Because now it's more credit. But it gets real technical because your income sometimes has something to do with it too. It's called a debt to income ratio. If your debt is way bigger than your income, it's still going to take your credit score down. The three major reported companies of credit are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion for individual credit. The three main reporters of credit for business credit is Dun & Bradstreet, number 1, Experian, number 2, Equifax, number 3. These are things that our people don't understand because they don't teach us this in class, and our parents don't pass us this down in trust. So today's class, I'm trying to make sure you at least have been introduced to it. So yes, you can buy credit. Yes, a credit person selling you credit, you got to find a good supplier. For some people, you know, so many people on the call smoke weed. So they find a good supplier for that. I ain't busting nobody out. I'm just giving you an example because all our people know what weed is. Don't play like you don't. You want to go to where your supplier is good. They have good credit lines such as these. They have good agents on them, and they know the people on them been paying it. And you build a relationship and rapport with them, and you grow with them, so you can grow in trust. If you go with somebody who go with God and really goes with God, then it's in God we trust, TAMAZIGHT says. So you go with somebody who trusts in God, you get the right things, you get a good supplier. If they're a real good businessman, they want to keep you dealing with good credit because they don't want to mess you up. They want you to come back and they want you to bring friends. So they're gonna sell you the good stuff. They bad people, they're gonna say, well, I can give you this credit right now. You know, they're not gonna ask too much about your credit, like whatever. So I want to show you how to buy credit and where to buy it from, rather than some of the people I know, one of them might be on the call who bought credit and they didn't come through. I've used, back in the day, have used suppliers who were good from the beginning, but they somehow fell off. So you got to keep shopping for the best supplier for the best clients you have, for your clients. To me, every client is a great client because every client needs another client. So I try to make it my business, and TAMAZIGHT make it TAMAZIGHT's business to keep a good supplier.
Peace, Chief.
Peace.
I just want to second you for the brother that's listening and is not understanding in that sense. When we were, you know, when I was in the real estate business and people were trying to get a loan, and let's say for them to have an FHA home, they have to have a 620, but they were shy of a 620, and say they were at 615. What some of the loan officers would do is they would contact whoever their supplier was, and they would add a credit card on there, and then their credit score would go to 625. So now they qualify for whatever it was they were going for. Just so you know. So it does raise your credit, and it does help you to qualify for something else if you need it to do.
No, I understand that, but I just didn't know where you can find a marketplace to buy credit.
Well, now you know TAMAZIGHT Temple University. You can buy credit from TAMAZIGHT Temple, and we're teaching our students about this in depth of how to sell it, where to go get it, the right places to get it from, and we're exposing our people to it. You can buy credit. So instead of going to all of these banks for credit and loans, you can actually just buy credit easier, and then you apply for credit cards off your own credit, because the credit reporting agency is going to report this good credit you have now. Your credit score is going to be higher. Now you can go and apply for credit. So if you want to start your business off, or if you're in a mortgage crisis and you want to pay for your home, you can just buy credit, up your credit score within 30 to 45 days, get a credit card. Hopefully you get one that's high enough where you can just swipe out whatever they're trying to charge you. Or you can take cash off the card. There are ways to do that and pay your way out of the mortgage situation or whatever situation you're in. Having good credit is a good safety measure for any and everyone. Somebody's on their phone, just reading on our computer. Oh no, that's my phone. You know what? That's because I took a picture with my phone. Okay, I was trying to figure out what that was. I gotta cancel this share screen. So I hope you all are understanding that part of credit.
I understand. So I go to where? I go to
TAMAZIGHT Temple University. You can call the phone number 888.
Oh, I have it already. It came in my email. Okay, all right.
Okay, right. So you can call TAMAZIGHT. We sell credit, and our students are going to be selling credit. And when you're done with class in our school, you're supposed to be able to work in helping with paperwork for non-citizens or for people in your religion. Because we don't want you dealing with people who are going to get you in trouble, because there are laws telling you that you can't do certain things. Selling credit, though, there's no law telling you can't sell your own credit. It's a trade. There's nothing illegal about it. Or you can sell credit by learning how to go to the marketplace. Once you know the marketplace exists, of course, other people in the marketplace are not just going to tell everybody all this information, because we don't want to saturate the market, which it is saturating already, but we don't want to make it worse. So you go to someone that sells credit, find someone you can trust, ask people who've gotten it, who has worked for, such as myself, they'll tell you the right people to go to. So you can buy credit, you can sell credit. That exists. I want you to know it exists, but I want you to know it exists under God. If you operate in God, your blessings are better. So that's the credit part. Next, I'm going to talk about the trust part. But we talk about trade. These are called trade lines, everybody. So when you see that $40,000, okay, the way trade lines work, when you open up an electric bill, you get an electric bill for a place. That's a trade line. When you open up a cell phone company and you pay a certain amount of money every month, that's a trade line. It goes to your credit report. When you get a loan, that's a trade line. When you open up a water bill, that's another trade line. If you trade with another company that reports to a credit reporting agency, that's a trade line that goes on your record. So you can buy those trade lines. Now we're going to talk about trust. Any questions right now about credit and credit trade lines before we move on to trust? All right. So TAMAZIGHT Temple University has students in it, and this is what we're going to be teaching them coming up in an upcoming class. And that's Sundays from 3 to 5. We teach these classes every Sunday from 3 to 5. So you all are going to be moving forward. For those who are not brand new, you're about to be moving forward to learning how credit works and how to sell it and how to buy it. First, I'm going to teach you how to buy it, because how to sell it, we teach you that later, because we want you to be operating in God so you don't get greedy. If God is over your head and everything you're thinking about and you do has God behind it, then we don't have to worry about you cheating people or getting too greedy or charging too much, because you got God on your side. When you don't have God, you're more apt to Let me just give people anything. You're not more careful with your people. We need you to be careful with your people because we're tired of people getting cheated. But it's not sometimes always on you. Sometimes it's your supplier means to hurt your people. So you have to protect your people from the suppliers who mean to hurt them. This is why we want you to operate in God, or as we say, in God we trust. Next are trust. As I was explaining to you earlier, your religious books, I don't care which religious book it is a will and testament of your Lord, your Savior, your Creator. And if you practice the African or Egyptian way, Kemet is African, it's still African, then your stuff is oral, but it's just like credit trade lines because you have an oral or spiritually known will that is not per se written on some book materialistic in this world, but it's written on your mind in another dimension. However, it exists. You know it, you're taught it, so you know it exists. And you manifest that energy of it into a will and trust. And now in God we trust, you create a trust from a will that's attached to a will. And you explain who your trustee is. I said if you're religious, then your prophet is usually the trustee. If you're from the Moore Science Temple of America, then the Moore Science Temple was your trustee, and its leader was your board trustee member, living member. Back in the day, it was Noble Drew Ali when he was living. Now today, it's Sheikh, or Sheikh is whoever, or Grand Sheikh is whoever. If you're a Hebrew, it's Rabbi whoever, and the temple of whatever. If you are African and you practice the Ifa or Lukami system or any of those, then your trustee is priest such and such, or Baba Yawo, Baba Lao such and such, or such and such, and Ile such and such. Because it should be in God that you trust, because God is the one that gave you everything, including yourself and your soul. You have a piece of God in you that is invaluable. All of you are invaluable. Slavery was so wrong because they try to put a price on what God made. Not just only the dehumanization of it, but then you devalue something what the greatest, most powerful creator ever made. There's a sin against God. It's God, the creator. So now you need to understand your place and that you are a vessel carrying a piece of the most invaluable thing, a soul that's attached to God and also attached to your ancestors. And you also carry the genetic makeup of your ancestors. You also carry percentages of gold, silver, traces, things, and other valuable things in your body. Right now today, you can go to a health food store and buy minerals that are already in your body to try to up and help your health in your body. There's a value to that. So now those are assets that you have. You're an asset. You were born as an asset. So you let the colonial people realize that before you did. Somehow people lost their minds and lost their value and didn't realize how valuable they were. You are a vessel to your creator. You have a piece of your creator poured inside of you. It's invaluable, but yet they try to put a value on it. Then you have a labor value that whatever you work for or whatever mental thing you create as intellectual property is going to make money one day. So here you have the argument of the birth certificate, which is, people say, is the trust. Because the Social Security Act created the IBD or Title 4D trust, which is called Social Security. That's based off of your labor. So it is a trust. It has a trustee, the Social Security Administration. But there's no one account to each of you. There's an account number to say that show your share in that trust, but it's one large trust. This is why I have an argument with the people who say, I'm going to collapse my birth certificate. Your birth certificate by itself is not worth all that. It's worth what some kind of part of your labor and what they projected to be, and some kind of what your value to God is to be, but you're actually invaluable. So all that collapsing the trust stuff that you're going to do, I want to tell you, well, let me tell you about the trust first, and I'll get to that part. So you need to have a will, and the will empowers the trust. You have a will to be religious already. If you want to be exempt at what it's doing, then the trustee needs to be exempt. Everybody know because of separating the church and state and because of operations in the United States, religious entities are exempt from taxation. So TAMAZIGHT Temple University is a trustee on many things. And that makes those things exempt from taxation because we are the trustee for God on this material plane. Because God is too big to fit here. And we represent God. It's in God we trust, and we represent people before their God. We represent their will of God. So you create this trust document called a Declaration of Trust. and other parts to the trust that go. And when you put the assets, a trust must have assets in it. So let's talk about what your understanding. I want to know about your understanding of trust. Can anybody explain to me what their understanding of a trust is? I'm going to wait for you all to discuss your understanding of a trust.
Is
That you, God? I think that's Brother Amare. Your microphone is giving an echo back. So, Brother Kareem, since you are, I believe we probably spoke once before. If you're new, you're new. Let me know. However, Brother Kareem, what's your understanding of trust since you're new? I want to know from someone who hasn't had our class what your understanding of a trust is.
A trust, from the way you described it, something different from what I thought before. But I thought a trust was some type of document or some type of something that you leave, or some type of inheritance for your family or something like that. That's what I thought. But from what you just described, it sounds like as long as you got faith in the higher being or supreme being, then that's who the trust lays in.
Well, it's the same as what you just said, Brother Kareem, too, though. Because remember what we pointed out to you. God gave you everything in trust. God had a living will, right? We believe that our holy books or our glyphs, what they will call cuneiform, hieroglyph, whatever it could be, tablets, are the will of God in writing, correct?
Correct.
It's about a will, right?
Yeah.
So God has a will, man has a will. So you have a will and you have trust. A trust is thought, energy, all in one, wrapped up in agreement that you can pass down to whoever comes next. So God gave you some commandments or some hieroglyphs, some things telling you what you can and can do, and you pass it down to your children, correct?
Correct.
It's the same trust. Now, you have assets, because God also stated in every religious book that you have land, that you're made out of the land, that gold, silver, whatever you put value to in your thought, that's in your trust. So a trust must have assets as well. So by laws of the United States, a true trust must have some assets, whether it's property, because if I'm not mistaken, God gave Adam land, correct? In the story.
Yep, understood.
Or mankind. We ain't got to give it a name. We just say mankind. It don't have to be Adam. It could be the original man, whatever original man. God gave this land to the original man and woman. So when I say man, I mean man and woman. I don't mean man, the male.
Yeah.
So all of us have these things. Now it's about you recognizing it. Sometimes you grow up, though, your parents may have passed you the inheritance of the land that they took control of and trust. Because this is all God's land. But we keep it for God, because God put us here to be keepers of it, correct?
Correct.
So the part you keep, that you put your labor on, that you take care of, you consider your real estate, your property. And the law considers that your real estate. That is an asset. That, your phone, your computers, whatever you use that has a monetary value is an asset. When you put in a trust, you take that trust. If you open up a bank account with that trust, that bank is gonna look at that trust and the stuff that is holding. That bank is gonna offer you trade lines on it.
Okay.
That bank recognizes the value that you don't recognize sometimes, which is why these banks are the ones foreclosing on your property and trust. Correct?
Yeah, correct. Because well, that's because a lot of people didn't stake the claim to their trust. They didn't get it.
Right. So let's talk about foreclosures, right? The bank is saying on payments that you agreed on, right? In the foreclosure. I'm gonna talk to the whole class, correct? A foreclosure is a bank saying that you're defaulting on an agreement and that the collateral to your default is the property that you agreed that was collateral. So they're foreclosing on the collateral, but the collateral is actually yours. They just gave you the money, but they can't really own and possess the land. So they gave you money for you to get a piece of land that you're going to take care of and labor and pay them back for. But when they gave it to you, they actually gave you the deed to it. It's yours. But however, you owe them, and you have signed an agreement saying that that is collateral, and if you default, that you will be paying back that house and some of the money because you owe them interest on top of that. That was trade line. The bank never showed you the money. They never had to.
Well, they never gave.
Put that credit up.
Yeah, they never gave you the money either.
Right, but they put their credit up.
Yeah, that's
they put up the assets that they're holding. So the bank is holding other people's assets too.
Yes.
What they do is say, well, we got credit trade lines to represent that we have this many houses that we're holding, this many diamonds. This is stuff that everybody else gave the bank. The bank didn't have this stuff in the first place. They got it from you. And they took a group of you all, they put it into treasury bonds. Whatever you gave them, they put the assets up in trade lines and treasury bonds. They're getting the interest paid back from the interest while they're holding your stuff. So when you put your labor check into your bank, do you ever see the money again? The actual money you put in? So let's say you wasn't using greenback dollars and you took them 20 pieces of silver to say, this is how much I made from this labor. The bank can hold that 20 pieces of silver and they're going to put it on the market to be traded. They're going to get paid from what they're holding and they're going to give you back credit or a credit card or a debit card with a MasterCard logo or a Visa logo showing they're using trade lines to represent. And that 20 pieces of silver, you're never going to see it again. But they're going to give you the value amount that you agree that it's worth. They're going to give you the credit trade on it, and they're going to give you a debit card on that. That's what you just did. So you can do the same thing the bank is doing. By putting your assets in a trust, that's not you, it's a trust. And now when the bank sees these assets, and they see that they exist, they're just going to see the deed and everything else. They're going to offer you trade lines on the equity that's in that property. You can take it or not. So when somebody's foreclosing on you, you have equity disbursements that you're supposed to be getting based on the money you've been paying and the interest that being, on it.
But I have a question, right? It may be a little bit more deeper than what you just said, but when they foreclose on you, right? They didn't get the money and they're using your trust account that you have with your birth certificate and your social security number, correct?
Not necessarily. They're using your collateral and the value of the equity into the property that your social security number said existed.
Okay.
So they're using the real estate. You didn't agree that your social account is to be used. The government is not going to let them do that because the trustees of your social security account is the Social Security Administration and the United States Treasury.
Yeah, you didn't get it.
The trustees over that account. They're not going to let these corporations just come in and use that. So that's just how somebody taught you that they haven't proven to you. When it comes to real estate and foreclosure on real estate, doesn't have nothing to do with your social that they are collapsing on. That is the collateral of the equity that you came forward and said was your estate. Now your estate is represented by your social security number when you put your social security number on the estate, when you make your social security number be the credit, because you use your social security number to have a credit score of 620 or 720 to get the bank to give you the money against the collateral. Yes, your social security is attached, but they're not attacking your social security account. They're attacking the equity. And they're also attacking the bonds on what you, as soon as you make this deal, they're going to create bonds on what you just did. The title company and the insurance company and the bank all together have created bonds on that real estate that your social security number and your signature have just empowered them to use because you signed an agreement for them to use. But God already gave you these things from the get-go. But you agree with this bank that you want this piece of what God gave you. And you want to use that piece for collateral. And you're going to use your number to get this credit score that's going to allow them to give you this credit trade lines towards the collateral, which is your home. So you, by thought and energy, took your energy and signed with a pen, and it takes energy to make a signature. And you put your energy into that document to represent your trust, and you made them representatives of the trust of that estate. But you can remove them as representatives because they allow you to actually put that deed into another trust that you created or that you have made agreement with. So you can remove them from the trustee by having another trust. You can't just take something out of trust and put it nowhere. It needs to be protected. You take another trust, now you can transfer it out from them, put it into the other trust. Peace. Someone had a question? So are you all understanding what TAMAZIGHT Temple University is teaching you that you should have learned in elementary school about trust? This is elementary knowledge. Y'all, have anybody ever heard of a trust baby or a trust fund baby?
Yeah, I heard of it. I heard of it.
When you think of a trust fund baby, do you usually think of a black person or a white person?
A white person.
Why is that?
Maybe because they went to see a financial advisor and they left a trust for their kids.
And that's also because that means that they were educated. That more than likely means that they was passed down from a parent then, right?
Yeah.
Or either a parent or a corporation.
Yep.
So that means that we're not being taught about these things, right? This is stuff we should have learned when they learned. They learned this stuff young. So do you think that President Trump inherited a trust?
Think who?
President Trump. You think he was a trust baby?
Man, yeah. They own some slaves and they hand the trust down to Trump. Yeah.
So you think his parents taught him all this stuff I'm teaching you today then?
I don't know, cause I just know his parents as being KKK members. That's all I know.
Well, you can't say you know that because you didn't witness that yourself. You heard that.
Well, I saw the pictures, so
I want to see those pictures. So yeah, email them to me. I want to see those pictures. But even seeing the pictures in education, you're taught this: you're either a primary resource, a secondary resource, or a tertiary resource. If you didn't witness it yourself, you really in law can't say that you witnessed it. You can only say that you're secondary. You saw what a witness of it presented to you. And in law, it wouldn't stand that you're a witness at that point. But we teach law in TAMAZIGHT Temple University too. So I would object to you based on hearsay if you said that in court. Because I still ask, how were you a witness to that when you weren't born? You are not a primary resource to that knowledge. However, you relied on a media company as a secondary resource that probably didn't see this either, but they went and interviewed somebody who may have witnessed this, who gave them a picture. That's the difference, my brother. So I just want you to stand correct before God, before anything you say about anything with these people. But the main gist of what I'm saying to you is for you to understand trust. There must be assets, there must be a will. And then when there are assets, you can monetize those. So if you're going through a foreclosure and you have equity disbursements that were not discussed, you should be asking your bank, where my equity disbursements at? You're saying I owe you $5,000 and you're foreclosing, yet you have checks for my equity that I could have gotten trade lines against to save my home. So did you not know that you could have saved your home by going to your bank with your assets in your own trust and saying, okay, I want you to monetize these trade lines, monetize this, give me trade lines against my assets, and you can pay them people off. TAMAZIGHT Temple University teaches this. And don't believe nothing I say, look for it for yourself. So if you have a bank, I want you to go into your bank, talk to your banker and say, if I had property, if I put my property in trust and I have equity, can I get a loan or some trade lines or a credit line on my equity? And watch them tell you yes. So don't believe me. I want you to do for your homework. For those who have a bank, I want you, and you a property owner, I want you to go into the bank and ask the bank, is it possible for me to get trade lines against my equity on my property? I want you to do that for homework. Come back to me the next Saturday's call or Tuesday. I'm gonna have a call Tuesday. Please tell all your friends. Tuesday is the supposed 11th anniversary of when, for those who are members of honor, when Ali Muhammad took paperwork to get done. March 6th of each year is another year. He would say he differs in that it was invented or founded earlier. You can found some earlier, but we all know the primary resource of how this works. When you notice someone of when you did it, it's the date of the registration. The founding date could be as early as possible, but the actual public notice knowledge was March 6th on one of them. So I'll be having to call this Tuesday to tell people what's the benefit of being an honor, to talk about revocable trust, to talk about irrevocable trust, and talk about what happened to the people in that nation and what's happening to them. And if what good happened, what bad happened. And I'm gonna allow people to speak about what good happened for them, what bad happened for them. Out of 11, so after 11 years, you would expect that there was a lot of things done, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
So we want to talk about what was done. What's here? Well, the school buildings, the trade, the things that it owns, the accounts that it has, all these great people who are living better than they were 11 years ago. All this, we want to discuss it. What's working? What's not working? Tuesday, the 6th. This call will be had. Any questions, comments, concerns, though, right now, we talked about credit. We talked about trust accounts. We talked about how you can monetize your assets. We talked about foreclosure and how you could have actually saved your assets had you asked your bank about your equity. Another thing you want to ask about is when you go bankrupt, a bankruptcy is an estate. There's an estate created right when you put in a bankruptcy case. The trustee given to you on the case opens up an EIN number. If you go into the IRS.gov site, where they allow you to open up different things, and you look at how to create an estate, and you try to open up an estate, there's a line item for bankruptcy. So there's an account created. Have you all ever asked your trustee that was over your account, where was the EIN of the estate that was created and who held the assets in that estate? When the bankruptcy got discharged, were you ever given that account number? Were you ever given the bank who held the assets that they liquidated? Because when you go bankrupt, your assets are immediately liquidated. Liquidated is another word for monetized.
That's what
your assets were monetized. They were liquid.
That's what I meant to ask you.
Anybody got a question about that?
Yeah, that's what I meant to ask you. That's what I was saying. When you it should be on your bankruptcy documents. They have a number that they put in your bankruptcy documents, and that's the number. But a lot of people don't understand that.
I would like everybody who's ever had a bankruptcy for another home. So this is 2 things for homework, just for the think tank. This is a think tank call. This is about you, not me. I'm not dictating what you know. I just want to get you to think and inspire you to think. I want you to ask, if you have done a bankruptcy, if that trustee person is still around, I want you to ask them to tell you what the EIN number to the estate is, and to tell you who held the assets if you had assets, especially if you own property then, because it was liquidated. And then I also want you to ask the court, what happened to your equity? If somebody foreclosed on you and they took the property, there's equity there. And they're supposed to take some of the equity. You only owe them, in the foreclosure, you only owe what they say you owe, not the entire amount yet. And then you have to ask another question. You had 3 types of insurances on the property. Who collected the insurance is the other question. That was liquidated as well. So everybody's getting paid but you. Where is your trust? Where is your money? Where's your estate? Where did your assets go when they got liquidated? Those are valid questions for you to ask. The trustee, there are 2 trustees usually given to you in the bankruptcy. You need to ask those trustees, especially the one that actually asked themselves to be discharged after they did that service, can I have a copy of my EIN and the estate that you had, and can you tell me who was holding it? And I need I want to have an audit done on what you actually sent out. The trustee actually gives an audit report. They give a report. The trustee's report needs to be read. They give a report of what they sent, and what they did liquidate, if they did. If they did liquidate, in the report they will say that everything was exempt, and they didn't liquidate anything, but they sent everything out to whatever. We need to know all these things. Questions, comments, concerns?
I just want to know what, this is Monica. I just want to know, when you say everything was exempt, what does that mean?
For instance, if you did a bankruptcy on property, you have what's called a homestead exemption from your state. So if you live in the state of Illinois, there's an Illinois homestead exemption is $15,000 of equities protected for a single person, and if you're married, it's $30,000 only. So Illinois sucks at protecting your equity. If you live in Texas, it's damn near unlimited how much real estate and equity they protect. If you live in Delaware, it's the same. If you live in Ohio, $235,000 individually of property equity or homestead exemption is exempt from being liquidated. So, and if you're married, it's over $500,000. So in Ohio, if you're married and you go bankrupt and you want to protect your equity, if your home is only worth $250,000 and you have exemptions up to $500,000, that means they should not be liquidating your home to pay back people that you're supposed to have a debt to. Meaning it's protected. It's exempt from being liquidated. Therefore, why are they taking your home again? It's the question. When it was exempt through the homestead exemption. So what they were supposed to be doing, those banks, were now that because of your chapter 7 said that all debts are forgiven, which is a God thing, chapter 7 bankruptcy goes along the same law of God, where in the book of Leviticus, it says every 7 years, debts can be exonerated or empty. Or if you're a Christian, Jesus died for your debts. So you shouldn't owe a debt. Jesus died for your debts. You say in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Every day, and didn't understand that your debts have been forgiven. And that this court is following religion, actually. Every 7 years, you can empty this out. And then they call it chapter 7. You need to put your mind to it, y'all.
Okay, so my question is, let's say you filed chapter 7, and you're saying that all debt is forgiven through chapter 7. Why do they still take your house?
I say all debt is forgiven through God. Why they took your house in that situation, what you're asking, because you know I stick with God. But I know what you're asking. Your question of why they took your house is on you. The question I have is, why did you ask your trustee and read the trustee report and say to your trustee and say to the court while the case was open, since the trustee reported that this property was exempted, why are they taking my home? What's supposed to happen was they were supposed to come back to you with a modification and say, well, since the government said that we have to forgive what you owe, we want to make a new deal on that property, is what they were supposed to do as collateral. They're supposed to forgive the amount you owe back then. That don't mean you don't owe the rest of the loan. It just means that part up to the point that you put that in bankruptcy is what was in question. What you need to be asking is, sending FOIA requests out asking them, did you receive an insurance payment? Because this loan was insured from the beginning. Did you receive the insurance payment? So since I don't owe you that money, that's paid off or is forgiven by the government standards, can you return my property and modify what I have to pay now that you know that I have less money? So they should have come back to you all with a modification, not coming back saying it's a bankruptcy, I'm taking your property. They're supposed to come back and say, well, that part was forgiven, but you still owe us on the rest of the loan we gave you. So let's modify the payment and continue going. And if you default again, now we're taking the house. If you default within the next 7 to 10 years, with the bankruptcy still lasts. So you're not asking the questions and you're not getting the evidence. Because the court is not the court's job to get the evidence for you, it's your job. The Transfer of the Minors Act, you're not an invalid, you're not a ward of the state, you are the age of majority. So why aren't you stepping up to claim your estate? That's the bigger question, because you didn't know how. So on this call, we're discussing with you, you do a bankruptcy, look at the report from the trustee. If they said things were exempt, you can ask the trustee, well, where's the account that you created? What was paid off? And trustee, you can ask them for clarification, or you can do to the court what's called a motion for clarification. Court, can you clarify if I still owe this company this money? The court will tell you by order, no, you don't owe them this money, but we don't get that. We just leave it be, take the discharge, and we never ask the right questions and never ask for the right thing to be put in the order to say that, hey, listen, this part is discharged, so you should be talking to me about modification. So how can we make a new agreement to modify based on the collateral that I've already signed with? Because the court has not discharged or exonerated the $200,000 or whatever you gave me for the house. They just exonerated the fact that I was behind $15,000. That's been forgiven. But I still owe you this much. So how can we continue on with this? We should be making a new agreement. But the people, what happens is the banks know that you don't know this. So they come in and tell you, well, this is our property still, and you still foreclosed. So they take your property because you let them take it without a fight, without going to court, without asking for orders, writ of mandamus, writ of prohibito, and things that can protect your house. That's why we have TAMAZIGHT Temple University as a class to teach you about law and procedure so you know to do these things. And of course, we don't just start at the back teaching you these things. We have to make sure you understand the first signals. Law works like traffic signals. We can't just get you past just the driving test when you don't know how to adjust your mirror, put on your seatbelt, which one is drive, which is reverse, which is this. We got to make sure you know every direction, everything you need to do first to do it safely. Then you drive, and then you go start. When you get a pro, you can be a speed demon now because you know how to keep the safety of others and the safety of yourself, as well as follow all the traffic signals. That's what Caesars of court are like traffic signals. One motion may be a yellow light, while one motion may be a green light. One motion may be a yield sign. But you got to follow the laws before you make the next move. So you have to learn these things. And what's happening with us, we don't know these things. And the thing about it is the courts are following God, but you're not. The only reason you don't understand it is because you don't understand the God that you say you follow. You took upon the way of their translation of what God does instead of the way your people did it. So now your understanding is messed up and you don't know what to do. So we will try our best to get you to the point of teaching you these things. Learn how to do a Freedom of Information Act request called a FOIA request. What happens when they don't send you something back? How you default them? Then you go to your attorney general to say, hey, they defaulted. I need you to investigate this. They need to give me this. And then if the attorney general fails, now you go to court and you sue for it. You have to learn these things. These things we should have learned when we were children. They hid this knowledge from us. TAMAZIGHT Temple University is here to give you back the knowledge because God gave it. They didn't really hide it. They veiled it. You need to reveal it. God reveals all to you. If you know how trust works, if you know your religion, then you will know how trust works. When I first heard of how trust works, I thought about, oh, God gave us a book, the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. That's God's living will. And we got that in trust from our prophets. And then our later prophets or our later leaders became the trustees later. But your churches don't even understand they have that power for you. They only understand they have it for themselves. So a church can sit here. You can have a mega church that'll own a church gymnasium. The preacher's house is exempt from taxation. That same church will own the big church building, and it's exempt from taxation. That same church will open up a school that's exempt from taxation. That same church will open up a store, like the Goodwill, making all these millions of dollars with little to no money being put down because people are giving them clothes. Exempt from taxation. The Salvation Army, exempt from taxation. But you don't know this. They know it. Salvation Army is a religiously owned entity. Goodwill is a religiously owned entity. How come you don't know it? How come your church didn't tell you how to exempt your house when they own a bunch of properties? Your bishop owns all this property, exempt. All these cars in the name of the church, exempt. But they didn't teach you the flock that you could do the same. They didn't do like Jesus did and come to you with fishers of men called Peter and Simon Peter and the son of Zebedee. And come, because he said, come with me, I'll make you fishers of men. And the thing is to teach you how, like the saying goes, you can teach a person to fish and they'll eat for a lifetime, but you give them fish, they'll eat for a day. Jesus brought fishermen and made fishermen. That's to my Christians or my people who understand Jesus. Prophet Muhammad did the same thing. Prophet Muhammad, born Kareem, went to the city of Yathrib called Medina, remade himself, came into God more, told the city, organized the people to become a city, accepted the will of God that they call Allah, and they went back to Mecca and told Mecca who they were and got Mecca to see the way. And Mecca started doing things with them in trust of Allah. And Muhammad was the trustee of the word of Allah because the angel Jibril took him the will, made him the trustee. He took the trust and put all the property of Yathrib in trust, and it became called the city of Medina, or the trust of Medina. Took the trust of Medina, then made the trust out of Mecca. Now you have the Islamic State. Ain't that something? I'm going to pause so y'all can catch that part of God that just got sent to you. Let me know if you're getting it. Are y'all getting it, or is it too much? Let me know.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is whoever your your church or whoever you follow was supposed to teach you how to become tax exempt, but they didn't. They just worried about themselves. And we are. I mean, if you're a follower of any religion or the Most High, or you follow religious or spirited person, that you're exempt, being that because you're following the Creator who made the laws.
Correct. So the United States of America stated that there's a separation of church and state. The IRS states that if a organization is either religious, charitable, or educational, they're exempt. So therefore, I'm not the one that's telling you you're exempt. They told you you're exempt because God exempted you from the get-go, and they can't tax God. This stuff belongs to God. So if you claim your things under God, you live the same way. So you say you believe in Jesus, you say you believe in Muhammad, you say you believe in Moses, but are you following their way? Because if you did, you would be exempt.
But what about if you're spiritual or you oh man, what are they called?
I'm spiritual. I practice E5. So E5 did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I told you, it don't have to be rich.
But they might. But they might say a religion, not spiritual, because the IRS and the government act funny with words. Just like like it's like they don't consider a person, a spirit or human. They consider a person like a, like entity or a slave or something like that.
Okay, let me show you what Jesus, Moses, and Prophet Muhammad showed you when they went to court. With anybody they went to court with, Jesus said, "I am that I am." Yeah. Moses told Aaron to tell Pharaoh, which God told him to do, let my people go. Prophet Muhammad listened to the angel Gabriel and went to Medina and organized them and went back to Mecca and said, this is who you should be. So you tell them who you are, not them tell you who you are, because God told you who you are. And if you accept it in title and in action, you know who you are before God, and you take that to them, like your prophet did. Or if you're spiritual,
but how do you even do that?
You got Amun Ra, who did the same thing.
Yeah.
You got so many different energies in Kemet who did the same thing. You got even if you're a Buddhist, Gautama Siddhartha was a prince that went under a tree and went back into nature and discovered himself and rediscovered the world's energy and enlightenment and light, and came back and taught the whole world. Now you got a bunch of people that call themselves Buddhists behind him. He's their trustee. And when they accept their title before that, you can't tell them nothing. Because all they follow is the Eightfold Noble Path. Or the will. W-H-E-E-L will. And it's the same as the will, W-I-L-L. I bet you that. So still again, you got the same never-ending story. You, like Prophet Muhammad, when the angel Gabriel came to him, and he ran scared, because he thought he saw a ghost, and he ran to Khadijah, mother Khadijah's feminine energy, and she said, next time you see that entity, that energy, speak to it and stop running, my love. Speak. So you need that feminine energy too. And you go back and you speak and you accept. So Prophet Muhammad right then and there accepted his position, accepted the position of trustee, and then took it and taught it.
Yeah, that's deep. I understand that, but like that's the first time I ever heard of that. I specifically only know about putting exempt on your W-2 or whatever the case may be. I don't know exactly how to get exempt from IRS. I guess it's a form you send them or something.
The IRS tell you how to get exempt. Yeah, they got forms. They got a form for ministers to be exempt. So let me tell you something else. Let me pull up the form in a minute. Form 4361. Let me pull it up. Exemption for ministers. It tells you how to get out of the Social Security number, how to get out the use of Social Security number and the accounts, actually. I'm about to show it to you. It's really funny.
Well, I'm in the process of being secure party creditor anyway, because I was going to fill out my...
That's commercial. You can use God to do the same thing. Prophet Muhammad was a secure party creditor.
Okay.
He went to Mecca with a whole city. You telling me that city, Yathrib, which became Medina, wasn't land, real estate, gold, oil that belonged to it? Everything, he took that whole city back as a trustee, religiously, ecclesiastically. follow the understanding and comprehension of what the IRS is saying. When the IRS uses the word church, they don't mean Christian church. They mean just any kind of religious entity. And the IRS even had a case. Brother Kareem, you must mute your phone because it still has feedback.
All right.
The IRS tells you what it means by the word church in definition. It tells you, and IRS even extended, the atheists tried to sue the United States government by saying it's unfair to atheists because it allows ministers and churches and religions to be exempt. So they sued in hopes to tear that down. Instead, what the IRS did, what the United States did, was tell the atheists, well, you're an organization as well. So if y'all together, y'all organized, y'all educational, or y'all charitable, you get the same rights. So it backfired on the atheists. So instead, the IRS gave them the ability to have buildings that are exempt and sales tax exemptions, and these idiots didn't even want to accept it. They were so bent on tearing something down that they didn't understand. They just gave them a way to live and save money and resources for themselves. Same lesson goes for you. If you just want to fight for fighting purposes and not to be under God and sit back and comprehend the blessing you just got, then you missed the whole blessing.
No, I understand what you're talking about.
So you go in there saying you're a secure party creditor, which is their word. That's their intellectual property. You didn't create that. You're trying to go to the creator of that word to tell them how you want to use it. No, they're going to tell you because you're coming in their word. You're not coming in God.
Yeah.
You're not coming in your own word. You're coming in their word. So how the hell are you going to get what you want from their word? They're going to give you what they can give you because you basically asked their permission to be. Right?
Okay.
Using their word, their way.
Right.
God is more powerful than them. So why aren't you going in God? I bet you this, myself and other ministers and priests don't have an issue going to them. We're exempt whatever we do.
Yeah.
I didn't have to call myself a secure party creditor because the IRS understands that a minister is a secure party creditor. You're the one that don't understand that.
No.
Define for us, if you can, Brother Kareem, secure party creditor. Give us the definition of secure party creditor.
Oh, hold on a second.
In the meantime, I'll look up what I was going to look up, which is the IRS Form 54. Let me see, IRS.
Peace, Chief.
Peace.
This is Sister Shira. If you establish your ministry, you have your trust account in place, and you have all of your paperwork lined up, yet at the same time, you also have a regular 9-to-5 job. Is it a conflict of interest if you take your earnings and contribute it to your own trust?
You can contribute. Don't call it your trust.
Okay.
Okay, what is our saying for class? In whom do we trust?
God.
So whose trust is it that you are actually keeping?
God's trust.
So it's God's trust. So if you donate to God's trust, is that not exempt?
Correct.
So you gotta stop. We gotta stop being like the white man. That's the white man in us. That's mine, my trust. You don't have to be. It's God's trust, but you are the keeper of God's trust because you accepted the position.
Yes, but do you understand what I'm?
So let me give it to you in layman's term. No, they can't tax you on it.
Okay.
Because it's not you.
Oh,
it's not their citizen. It's going to God's trust, and it's exempt already. So now you can donate to who you want to donate to. You know this. I mean, does the government tell you who you can't donate to? But they tell you can't donate to terrorist organizations. That's what they will tell you. So
right, but
if you donate to one of them terrorist organizations that Brother Now brought up earlier, I pretty much feel that they will tell you you can't.
I know oftentimes they use that. Well, I don't know. As you once stated, they're making their own laws or creating their own crimes or something. So I don't want to get I don't have to explain conflict of interest if they were to create, some new law crime.
Well, okay, as a TAMAZIGHT student, right? You know TAMAZIGHT Temple is already exempt because you've seen our exemption paperwork.
Exactly.
If you open up a trust, then who's more than likely your trustee when you want with us?
TAMAZIGHT.
TAMAZIGHT is already recognized as exempt by the IRS, so we don't have to prove it because they already gave us recognition, right?
Right.
Therefore, what's conflict of interest? They already know we have a board. They already know we're ministers. There's no conflict of interest when you do it that way. When you do it the way that these other gurus taught you, which is you be the beneficiary, you be the trustee, you be the grantor, you be all three. Then you have a conflict of interest because it's you. You're the only one benefit.
Okay.
So the laws are made for, so the antitrust laws, there are, along with trust laws, the antitrust laws. What white folk were doing back in the day was the same thing you're saying. Me. They were the grantor, the beneficiary, and trustee, and they had what's called monopoly, which is illegal in this country.
Okay.
But the antitrust laws came out to stop these corporations from doing that.
Okay.
So if you do the same thing they did, then you're being a white supremacist. So what you know you need to do is get rid of white supremacy in you. And that way you can think, you can see this clearer. What I'm trying to show you is either God can eradicate white supremacy, or black magic, or what's called black culture. African culture destroys white supremacy. Spiritual culture destroys white supremacy, but unless you're in the spiritual realm where white supremacy reigns. If your Bible has white pictures in it, if your church got white pictures on it, then you in a white supremacist organization. And when the first time you hear the word Jesus, you think of some dead, skinny white man, you're a white supremacist. You ain't thinking about God, because if God looks anything like the universe, when I look out into the expanse at nighttime, I don't see nothing but darkness and melanin. I don't know what you're looking at. I look out there, I don't see nothing white. Even the book of Genesis states that darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the word of God traveled across the face of the earth.
Ashe.
That's what it says.
Yes, it does.
Every book, when it speaks of creation, speaks of darkness being here. So if God was the only thing here that was never created, because you got to ask yourself something about these books. How was darkness here before God made any creations? Unless darkness is of God. Wow. So let's go back to credit, which is thought and energy and spirit in motion. Credit is kinetic energy that came from potential energy. When you use credit, that potential energy becomes kinetic. It's your mind's thought agreeing that what you have is money. And it's on the other end, some corporation or bank is agreeing that it's money. That's credit. If you look on the screen, you see publication 517. It's an IRS publication about Social Security and other information for members of the clergy and religious workers. In this big pamphlet full of, how many pages long is this? I'm not gonna go through all the pages. I'm just gonna give y'all I think it's 30 pages in this. It explains to you how a minister can actually get out of Social Security and FICA. And then there's a form 44361. It's the form that you sign to send to them, and then they'll send you notice back saying, okay, as long as you don't work for other people who are not working for God, you're exempt from Social Security, from taxation, all that. But you can't be living a double life.
See, that'll be a problem for me, because I work for an employer. So
who volunteered to work for that employer?
You said what?
Who volunteered to work for that employer? Do you have to work for that employer?
Do I have to? No, but right now that's how I'm getting my bills paid.
Right, and no, we applaud that. So nobody's telling you not to, brother, pay your bills and get it how you get it. But in the future, once you have this knowledge, and you take your seat before God, and you do work for God, you probably will have no need to work for nobody else.
Okay.
Because what you're doing right now, your labor energy is making who's richer? You or the person you work for? Who's getting more money?
Bill.
Is the government getting a cut from that?
Yeah.
So everybody making more money off you than you.
Yeah.
That's what you volunteer for. It's not an issue because you still got to take care of you. But the point is, as much as you're making them money, you should be saving up enough to get your own business for your family. So, because can you be fired from that job?
Every day.
You can be fired, which means they have control over your life. So you have linear income, you have residual income, and other sources of income, but I'm just going to stick with linear and residual. You have royalty income, things of that nature. Who said you couldn't have other income? And who said you can't take your position under God to have that income or the resources God gave you? You're doing it for somebody else, so you learn to do it for yourself as well. Your company could just spring up and you can put in some energy to that too while you're doing that work. And you can take some of that money that you're getting from that job that you're working for them as an employee and put it to your business. I can tell you this, and some of them on the phone. I bet you an African, Indian, or Asian will come over to this country and work for somebody else, but send that money home and build their houses, build their villages, build their family, all of the employee of that, and then they'll leave. I know cab drivers who were Nigerian cab drivers who drove a cab 20 years, went to school to get a PhD, and now they're doctor such and such. Those doctors operating on you probably drove a cab when they first got over here. Why can't you do it?
I don't know.
Well,
I know their circumstances are different though. When when somebody's foreign come over here, they come over here, they get grants and loans and stuff like that. You born here, you got to basically grind the whole time. And
all right, so now you know that you can't. It's harder for you to get grants and loans than somebody foreign. Can you do something about that? Well, let me ask you this question: do you have a credit card?
No, not anymore.
But you had one, right?
Yeah.
So you were able to get credit, right?
Yeah.
So why do you think I'm teaching you this?
Listen, I understand now, but you talking about previously. You know what I mean?
Well, you got to wake up. The only reason I'm here is because God put me here by whatever name, and your ancestors got you here. We're here together for each other's ancestors and for God, for the Creator. So now the Creator has put it to me to say to you, listen, the Creator gave you these things. You need to wake up and claim them, and then put your labor energy into building them, and have your own thing. So can't nobody tell you you're fired. So you can't take care of your children, or you got to go back to somebody else and ask them, can they hire you? Yeah. You can hire you. How are you ever unemployed when you work for God? You're never unemployed. You believe because the word existed that you were. Eric Gardner wasn't unemployed.
Yeah.
That's why they want to stop him. Partially. Race is another thing. He said, I just sell loose squares for this extra money. He refused to accept the status quo.
Well, you can't do that around here. You end up like Eric Gardner.
Understood, but that's not the way it's supposed to be now, is it? What they were doing was protecting the white supremacist and commercial structure, stating that, well, we're here to protect the real estate owners and the rich corporations. Therefore, they say there's a tax on this. They say you don't have a license to sell this, and we're going to enforce that. Yeah. But under God and as a force and together now let's say he was there selling, let's say you had a group of people selling loose squares and they had an organization that had insurance behind it or a church or whatever. Yeah, there's going to be some lawful stuff happening, but they can afford it. And yet the police going to look at it twice because then now it's like, no, they can afford lawyers. No, they can afford politicians. Our mistake is we're not together. Our mistake is we're by ourselves. That's our mistake. We need to stop making the same mistake that we made for the last 500 years. It has to stop. It has to stop being that, oh, I want to be Washington. I want to be Arna. I want to be MSTA 1. I want to be MSTA 2. I want to be New Covenant. I want to be whatever. And it needs to be, we want to be together. And we want to really stop this oppression together. It needs to stop being, I see the road is dirty around my neighborhood. And there's one person, it's going to take them a longer time. But if we all get out and clean this road up, it don't take that long. We are watching the other back, so if a car comes, somebody watching somebody else who watches somebody else can tell us the car's coming. Those type of things. Now, we were all in God. We could do that. And we all stop arguing about whose God is greater. We could do that. How about this? We all got God. We just call God different names. Let's stop arguing about that. We all stop arguing about, well, man is greater than woman. No, woman is greater than man. We can get something done. How about we're both great? We all created by the same creator. We do the same thing different ways. It takes both of us to make a new life. We're equal. Now let's stop arguing about this bullshit and get our stuff together. Let's go in God and get this done. Then we won't have these issues. So most of the people you've seen they got, tell me they weren't by themselves. They'll get you. They came to the Black Panther Party when they were together, but they caught them alone sometimes. Or they would put them to split like they did Champion Fred Hampton Sr. where they would poison his Kool-Aid and put some sleep agent in it, as the cowards that they were, and then sneak in at 3, 4 in the morning to kill him. Because he knew not to be alone. Huey P. Newton, they couldn't get him that way, so they said let's get some drugs or some other stuff to get him. And let's cause enmity between him and the rest of the Black Panther Party. Let the Black Panther Party argue about men and women and who's stronger and who's this, and let them be separate so we can catch them one by one or part by part or two by two. We got to stop this argument, and it first begins with getting rid of the white supremacy and just blocking us from seeing God. We were educated in their public schools with their education, with their books, with their images. We were educated in their churches. I don't care if your preacher was black. Your Bible was white. The picture of Jesus that he told you to worship is white. Therefore, you are the white supremacists. If you have a bunch of European Arabs in your mosque, they're telling you, oh, brother, you living right wrong, and that's haram, but yet you go out to the liquor store or you go out to the restaurant that's causing the diabetes and disease that's killing you. Who owns those? The same people that go to the masjid with you. And they're lighter than you, and they're European descendants. And they ain't doing nothing. Some of them are, some of them not. I'm not going to say it's all of them. They know. You're responsible to stop the argument and the thing that's separating you. You're responsible for accepting God's trust and the resources God gave you and taking care of God's stuff. You can make your own. If that church ain't working right and they got a white Jesus, then make a church. TAMAZIGHT to show you how to make a church. If the will or the book you're using is full of white supremacy, look at Noble Ali. You have the Quran that the European Arabs have, and you have the Circle 7 Quran. Let me tell you how much a genius he was. In religion, the IRS and all of them will ask you, well, if this book is your will and trust, then you got to do what this book says, and we know we made this book, so you still got to follow us. Noble Ali was like, nah, Circle 7 Quran. I know what's in that. Ain't none of your poison in there. They couldn't touch him. So all of a sudden he disappeared off the streets. He was murdered. Think about it. So if you want to know where to grow, you have to be careful with commerce. If you don't do commerce in the spirit, there's nobody in the world of real energy to protect you, and you're dealing with energy. And they will take you out about their money. They will create crimes on you about their money when you're by yourself. So at TAMAZIGHT Temple University and TAMAZIGHT Temple means to organize you and keep you together, teach you the right ways, and not let them catch you by yourself. And it means to put insurance behind you so that you don't have to go to court and waste your time doing whatever. You're going to send some people in that got some money backing. That's why your trust is in God, and the book you're using, be sure that the book you're using is not a book that they're in control of. So they can't tell you what this book says and what you should be doing, because you know. Questions, comments, or concerns? I think we're about done with this call. I think I may be over time. I don't know what time it is. I get lost in God and helping my people. So 5:14. We're done. Questions, comments, concerns? Tomorrow's class for TAMAZIGHT students. It's gonna be a great class. Tuesday, we're gonna have a great call. We're gonna go more in depth to these things. Remember, publication 517 can tell you how, as a minister, how you can get out of Social Security and things of that nature when you don't need it through your religion. There's another publication that will help you get out. We're gonna talk about 401ks and other private banking and private methods of putting your Social Security in, and we're actually interviewing Social Security right now to find all the ways out and to actually try to find a way that if we have enough trust together, we have enough assets, can we pull ourselves out of your system and put our assets into our own trust? So class tomorrow only for those who are paid students, not for the public. Tuesday will be a public call. Be ready for it.
So how do you become, let me ask you a question.
Friends and family know. Yes.
How do you become a paid student? Because a friend of mine recommended me to you. So how do you become a paid student?
You are, which Kareem? From New York? Who's your friend? Is he a student?
I believe so.
All right. You can email me at tamazighttemple@gmail.com, where you got the email from. Let me know who you are, and I'll send you the instructions. In writing and in deed.
Fair enough.
Any questions, any other questions, comments, or concerns from anyone else on the call, or anything you don't understand? Okay, but those left on the call, was the information good enough for your time? I don't want to waste your time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I will see the rest of you in class tomorrow who are students. I thank your ancestors for allowing you here. I thank you. I thank the Creator for allowing us all here amongst each other. And for those who know how we end, in God,
we trust.
y'all have a great one. And
Peace.
all God's blessings.